Hello, everyone, and welcome to Seriously Loco, the Seriously Crazy fan podcast for El Paso Locomotive FC. I'm Phil Bakke, and I'm joined tonight by Mika Burrell. Mika, we're back. We're cooking, and the season opener came and went. It occurred. USL still active at this moment. But yeah, back to talk about all of that. But how are you?
Doing well, Phil. Yeah, it's game week 1 is done and dusted. I think all the fixtures have been played, and so lots to reflect on both in our game and just kind of in the wider USL Championship landscape. Yeah, it was fun, entertaining, maybe a little bit too entertaining, and we'll get onto that. But yeah, lots actually to get into. A lot of different storylines here, not least of all the ongoing labor dispute. But yeah, interesting to say the least.
Yeah, we'll have to touch on the potential for labor action by the USLPA, but we'll talk about what they did. We'll talk obviously about the 2-2 draw between El Paso Locomotive and Colorado Springs Switchbacks to open the USL Championship season at Southwest University Park. And then we'll talk about Kenneth Hoban, who I think we may owe apologies to. And we'll also talk about looking ahead to Monterey Bay and a preview of the potential return of another Locomotive player, Nick Ross, as long as he's available. But all that being said, Mika, I mean, I guess the place to start, opening day, a home opener in match week 1 is always nice. And I think the fans have been treated to that quite frequently at Southwest University Park. But in the end, another season opener comes and goes with in this case, a solitary point rather than all three. And still, the winless streak on opening day goes on for Locomotive now, eight in a row, having never won on opening day.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's been a handful of draws in there. It's not been all completely bleak, but yeah, we just cannot break this curse, and that's now on our 5th head coach who's not immune to this curse of ours of not being able to win on the opening night. We could have won. I think that's what hurts the most in retrospect, of course.
Being
But I
so
think
close.
yeah, and I think also, weirdly, is this not identical to what happened last season? Didn't we draw 2-2 with Colorado Springs on opening night? Like, was that not a thing? I think it
Oh, wait,
was.
yeah, I think that is that what happened? That's actually, I think that is.
I
I think
mean, I
that's
feel like
accurate.
we'll play Colorado Springs Switchbacks until the heat death of the universe, but
Oh, very true.
so yeah, it was there for the taking, Phil, I think, but we conceded, I think two stupid goals, but one of which was a really good finish, the other just really poor defending, but I suppose we'll get all into that.
Wait, now I have our intern looking at timestamps because the time of the goals is now becoming. It was a 2-2 draw to open last season
Was it?
uh,
Okay.
against Colorado Springs. It was a little bit different in how it came about because while Colorado Springs did score a very early goal in this one too, and then it was equalized by an Amando Moreno goal. Colorado Springs took the lead in the 74th, and then it was Andy Cabrera who scored that late goal, assisted by why is his Daniel who was that striker who was here for 5 minutes on loan from Costa Rica?
Oh, yes. Hmm? He was from
Carter.
US Carter. Yeah. Yeah, so different field tilt, obviously. I think in this game we were better than we were this time last year, but still same result. So I think Colorado Springs will feel like they snatched and grabbed a point. I think they should feel that way, to be honest.
For sure. Yeah, and we'll talk a bit about the nature of the Colorado Springs goals in this one. First, like we said, the labor dispute, the USL Players Association's ongoing dispute with the league, and the lack of a collective bargaining agreement continues. And the match a little bit interesting in that this weekend USL players decided to start the first minute not moving and standing for the first full 60 seconds of play after the whistle was blown, in protest of the fact that they do not have a collective bargaining agreement. I'm interested, there's been a lot of people, like a lot of different opinions about, like, is this the right move? Is it the wrong move? Should they have just, if they're going to strike, should they just strike? Um, I'm curious from your perspective, being there in the stadium, what how it transpired there, because I'll be able to share the TV side of things, but curious what you thought about how it went over in the stadium.
Sure, sure. It's interesting because I think I don't know. I don't want to be disparaging of like the El Paso Locomotive crowd because I do think by and large our fans are very much soccer people. You know, it's in our culture here on the border and everything. But I don't know that I don't think I'd be willing to bet that most people knew what was going on, to be honest. And um certainly the club were trying to mitigate some of that and not put attention to it. um I think there was even someone like shooting off t-shirts like just shortly before, like they were
Hmm.
trying to act like it was business as usual, and I guess from a their perspective I certainly understand that, like, you're here to sell the product. Your product is entertainment, right? And when something's not when what people came to see is not happening, it's a little bit it puts you in an awkward position. But I mean, that's why they're doing it. They don't want to just make everyone real comfortable with the fact that they are still playing with an expired collective bargaining agreement. So I've seen I've seen the gamut of takes, as I'm sure you have as well, Phil, of like, well, if you're not going to strike, then you need to show up and work and da da da. And like, also, you know, that from that extreme to like, well, it was just 1 minute. Like, we're not going to die. Like, it
Right.
was 1 minute out of, and they end up making the time back anyway. Right. So I'm kind of the opinion of like, it if it's drawing attention to their cause and making people think beyond just what they see and what they turn up for, which is pure entertainment, and to understand that those 11 players on the field are employees and they deserve a standardized working environment and benefits and things like that, then great. I think some of the crash outs of like, you need to just work since you're not striky, it's like, we can have some nuance, like it's okay, it's gonna be okay. So yeah, as far as like to really get back to the point, in the stadium, I don't know that people really understood what was going on. I could be wrong, but I don't know that anyone really noticed. Now I know club officials for sure did and were prepared for it and expected it. Um, as you can imagine, but yeah, I'm not too sure people understood what was going on. But maybe it will cause them to look into it, right? And
Yeah.
ask what's going on. So and perhaps that's the point, right? So,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Of course, I was only in attendance for one USL Championship game this season, or this weekend. But from what I could tell, at least to me, it felt like there were crowds around the league that were a little bit more in tune with what was happening,
Sure.
which I found kind of just interesting. I mean, I don't know that makes a
Yeah.
difference necessarily, but I just felt like there were some fan bases that were a little bit more into what was going on, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think in a situation, and I think this is maybe indicative of, like, I think there's work to be done. But I would say the supporters groups in those situations were the ones like
True. Yeah.
driving the sort of, and I'm not saying that Eighth Notch like is required to make those sorts of statements or whatever. Like I'm not, I'm not a member of Eighth Notch like in that way. So like
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
trying to speak on their behalf. Um, and I'm not saying like that they, should or shouldn't have. I just think in the cases where, yeah, there was crowd response or some kind of like planned something, it was the supporters group who were kind of behind that. And I think in this case, what I found to be, and I want to be like careful in what I say, not because I'm like concerned about backlash or something like that. God, God knows, like we've been down these roads before, but I want to be like kind to the people involved because I don't think that there's like malice, like or like malicious intent or anything like that on behalf of anyone involved. The broadcast stuff, though, um, one, I just want to say, like Duke. Obviously, we love Duke. He does a wonderful job calling the games, and our buddy Joe Rodriguez was in there and calling the game alongside. What I found fascinating about this minute was it was clear that, and I don't know who wrote it or anything like that, but there was sort of additional match preview stuff that they specifically had planned for that minute where the shots, like the camera shots went to the crowd. They went to the like big doghouse. They went to the like, there was, anywhere but the pitch. Um, which I think was a lesson learned from USL because they were like, our broadcast for like, they weren't ready for it broadcast wise on the season kickoff game between Lexington and Louisville. And it became a little bit viral. Like it did actually like catch people's attention on social media. And so they were like, never again. We're not even going to show it on the broadcast, which I think is a little not, I don't think cowardly is the right word, but I think it's a little bit of an admission of like, we're worried that these players will get sympathy. and I'm like, okay, if you're that concerned about your negotiate, like if you're that confident in your negotiating position, like this little protest shouldn't really mean that much. Um, and you should be able to like back that up. But what I found interesting is that between Duke and Joe, they had them like do some like reading of some additional match preview material like during that minute, which to have planned feels like kind of tough. I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't love it. And I'm not saying that either of them were behind it or were trying to sabotage the protest or something like that. I
Mhm.
think they were directed to do that, and it was a production decision that was made. And I just watching it just felt like knowing what was going on the field. It just felt a little icky because
Yeah.
it's like the players are doing this. We are here to watch the players. And yet for this minute, like showing them standing still because they want like a $42,000 minimum league salary is like, to me, it's just a little gross.
No, I totally get it. And I mean, I suppose, and I'm not saying I agree necessarily, but I'm just saying that, like, from the perspective of the league and the clubs, like, if you do control the narrative quite literally to that extent where you control the broadcast, why
Sure.
wouldn't you do that, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it is tough because I take your point too of like, well, if you're so confident that what you're offering is fair, then why does a minute of this, why is that so like distasteful and something that is to be avoided? Yeah, I mean, the fact that it went viral with the Lexington game and Louisville, um, yeah, they must not have liked that up at HQ. Something's going on though. Like I feel like Pavlov's dogs because they did also play Gasolina at the Swamp.
What is the deal with gasoline? When did Gasolina become an anti-labor?
I don't know. I mean, somebody get Daddy Yankee on the phone. Like, where is Daddy Yankee? Because we need to understand. Like, was there some like anti-labor intent in the making of this song? No, I just, all jokes aside, like, yeah, they started playing it a little bit shortly afterwards, and I was like, what is happening?
I
Like,
am I am excited for I for one look forward to Daddy Yankee dropping, like, you know how like artists will come out and be like, a politician used my song at a rally that I don't agree with, so I'm like saying I denounce this or whatever. I'm waiting for Daddy Yankee to weigh in on USL labor disputes, of like, your
Oh
song
my
has been
god.
has been used. Someone also pointed out like, that it was tantamount to torture, because remaining still during Gasolina is nigh on impossible.
It's like, please stand for the playing of the national anthem.
Yeah, where
No,
it's like, I have to move, like, try not to move, try not to shake it challenge, like,
yeah, so just a little bit of humor in what was otherwise, a serious
yeah.
statement by the players. And I mean, have you, before we get on to the locomotive of it all, have you heard any developments on what's going on? I mean, I feel like they're just kind of trading barbs on social media at this point.
It's kinda what it feels like. It doesn't feel like, I'll be honest, it doesn't feel like there's been meaningful movement,
Mhm.
um, and all of the indications are that, like, there is still very much a threat of a strike before this weekend's games. And I think like the calls for that
Really?
within the Players Association are increasing now, because I think that they thought that the needle was going to move more, um,
Okay.
with the protest. Now, I want to be clear, this is pure speculation,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
based on like, I'm, trying to put pieces together of stuff I'm hearing, and I think if a deal was close, I think we would know if they were closer to a deal. Now, will the Players Association strike? I'm not sure, but I do think that it is becoming more likely, as the days roll on. Which
Interesting.
it will be very interesting to see. And this is where I don't want to turn this into the like, the USLPA like labor podcast or whatever, but I do think that at what point, like, the strike can't really be called, you know right before kickoff of the first game of the weekend, right? You
Mhm.
kind of have to do it before anyone travels, which is like,
Right now.
yeah, maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, like,
Right.
is like the earliest that people will be traveling. um and you kind of have to do it, like, people can't get on the plane, right? Because then what happens if like you're on strike and you're in, fucking Tulsa or whatever, and it's like, okay, like, you're on strike, so we're not chartering a flight or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
That's crazy. Yeah, no, no, you're right. It logistically, like, it takes some planning. I hope it doesn't come to that, but
yeah, hope not.
interesting.
I had an extremely cursed thought, uh, about the fact that the and I hate I'm even saying this out loud, but do you remember the 2020 season and that opening game draw against Orange County?
I do.
And then no more games were played for like 8
And then
months or whatever.
and then Rudy Gobert like massaged a microphone and it was a wrap, as they
and
say.
and Christian reminded us in the group chat today, happy 6th anniversary of us literally being at Baki Studios and
Crazy.
in El
Crazy.
Paso, and yeah, we we learned that the NBA was shutting down, and we were like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah. Yeah. No. Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah.
I had a very
I
cursed thought about what if we play one game and then the rest of the season is gone for strike purposes. I really hope that's not what happens, but
I really hope not either.
yeah. So apologies for cursing the airwaves with that one, but it was something
You had
I
to get it
thought, so
out.
y'all had to think it too. So
Yeah. Right.
um but a game after that first minute, a game occurred. And actually, like, a quite good game, I think, for El Paso Locomotive. Promising signs all around, but you wouldn't have known it in probably the opening 20 minutes. And uh, 5 minutes in, Locomotive trail to probably their oldest nemesis. And this is going back across managers, across as old of a nemesis as opening days in general. And that is set pieces and defending them. Um, a series of corners and or a series of long throws and corners for Colorado Springs eventually leads to Corey Bennett grabbing a goal for the visitors. Very scruffy, found the pinball in the box type goal. But they take the lead 5 minutes in, and it was not looking so good. It just felt like more of the same for Locomotive.
Yeah, I mean, conceding early on opening night at home, like, that's so us. Like, that's so Locomotive core. Um, yeah, it's, I mean, I think the tactic of Colorado Springs switchbacks became evident very quickly. Basically chucking the ball from halfway. Um, I think Brentford is unfortunately going to hell for this, like, as an institution, for making the long throw a thing this season.
Yeah.
I'm only half kidding. Um, I will say at the time I was very annoyed, obviously, because it was like we concede the throw. We didn't know they were going to maybe launch it like that. They launch it, then we have to concede the corner, and this is where I get annoyed because it's like you gotta focus a little bit. It's the first 5 minutes of the game. You're at home, trying to make a good impression on your new manager, on the fans. It's just, we got to defend better there. We're letting the ball kind of like volleyball around in the box a little bit. And congratulations, I guess, to Colorado Springs for taking advantage. Obviously, when you're on the road, that's like the best way to start. Um, in retrospect, though, I guess I will give us some slight slack in the sense that this lineup is completely random. I mean, we kind of
Yeah.
skipped it, but like the
Yeah, I guess
starting
yeah.
11 like was just like, I mean, how many we had? Four debutantes
Mhm.
for the club in Rubio, Rubin, Jimmy Varkalun, Alex Mendez, and Kenneth Hoban making his first start, not his debut necessarily. He did get
But
1 minute,
yeah.
but so
Effectively his first actual minutes for the club,
right,
yeah.
right, and then Noah Dollenmeyer, and Romero as well. Abraham Romero also making his
Yeah.
his debut. So five new players. So in retrospect, I can kind of see where maybe not everyone's on the same page just yet.
Mhm.
By all accounts, they've been gelling really well in training, but training is
Sure.
not a competitive environment in the same way that a game is. So I suppose I can give them a little bit of pass for that. But the lineup, though, like before we even go back to the goal, like what do we make of Junior Gonzalez's first 11 ever?
Well, it was funny because I mean, the surprise is it turned out that obviously this was like an injury hit lineup, which I think that maybe we have to have a further discussion, like after we talk through the game about like uh fitness wise, like they're kind of limping into the season, which I don't love.
Sure.
Because well, we know that we're carrying a squad that is, as Locomotive does, it is exactly the amount of players that you technically need. And so I do worry about injuries and stuff down the line. But that being said, I think I was surprised to see, Jimmy Farkalun was announced the day before, right? Like,
Very
or
recently, yes.
or earlier this week, earlier in the
Like
week,
Thursday or something. Yeah.
because we recorded the day he was signed. I think it was
Mhm.
Thursday, and we recorded
Mhm.
that day. So, anyways, like Farkalun kind of straight in, no surprises with Rubin, but then the Kenneth Hoban, and I would say like even seeing Kofi Chumasi and Noah Dollenmeyer as the center back pairing, it was like, we're kind of going in. When you've got Palermo Ortiz, turns out he's hurt. Okay, well, then you've got Tony Alfaro, who's like sort of the, experienced guy still around. And Junior went with like a pairing that I can confidently say did not play together at all last season, right? Because Chumasi played plenty of center back, but not with Dollenmeyer.
Sure.
Um, And yeah, so I was very shocked. And then I think the Moreno, the Abraham Romero.
the goalkeeper, yes.
Yes. Sorry, I'm having that was like dyslexia moment. I don't know. But yeah, Abraham Romero, he had, I think it was a question of like who's gonna win this fight for the number one. And I think the key here is that I definitely want to see, well, one, I want to see more of him, but I want to see more of it. Like if he's the guy, like let's just make sure he's the guy. Um, like we talked about last episode. But yeah, I think overall it was a surprise. And then the Kenneth Hoban thing, what just really caught me off guard. And I think, we'll talk more about him, but from a lineup perspective, when at first I was like, oh, like all our right backs must just be injured, where it turned out that Memo was, but Quezada was on the bench and actually comes into this game like later in the game, I think, off the bench. So he was available. And Hoban gets a start over him, which at the time we were like, this is a meme, like the whole, like we got a 16-year-old starting at right back. And he justified the selection.
Absolutely. I mean, we were quite literally not familiar with his game. So like,
yeah, I mean, because how could we have been?
How
but
could we be? Yeah, Kenny Hoban gets the start, plays 84 minutes. Very impressive from him. I think what struck me the most was just the calm. Like, I feel like sometimes you see young players try to do too much, right? And it seemed like he was very focused on making the right decision and like intervening when he should and not every time because he wants to be, stand up and be counted. And I think in that way he actually did stand up and be counted by just being solid. Really decent passing range on him. Got dribbled past a couple times, but he's 16. I mean, and they were targeting that side. And I thought that, he stood up to the challenge very well. And it says, I wrote a piece on Patreon that maybe we can link in the show notes or something. But
for sure,
one of the things that I pointed out of like things that we learned early doors about this Junior Gonzalez side is if you're old, good enough, you're old enough. And Junior said, we trusted him to start this game and not only to start, but to get nearly the entire game. And I think really the only reason he maybe got pulled at the end of the day was because he ended up getting a yellow card. So he might have seen out the game if not for that. So, but yeah, it's, a hometown boy, academy product, family and friends all in the stands. I don't think, I think the only way it could have been any better for him is if we had gotten all 3 points. But other than that, I think Kenny was very impressive.
And he almost scored. Like that would have been, because he actually, he had a shot saved at the near post by Christian Herrera, and then it fell to him, and he just couldn't control it quite enough to keep it under the bar. But and I'm sure he'll be thinking about that a little bit. But the reality for I think for Hobbit, the thing that really impressed me is that it's obvious, playing at right back and the way that this team builds up and the way that it kind of moves things from the back out wide, it is gonna play is gonna flow to a certain extent through the fullbacks. Like, but what really did strike me is that it's quite clear that the team trusts him to play because the buildup was so often going down the right hand side, and like Ricky Ruiz, who's a quite attacking fullback, all that stuff, like the play just wasn't flowing through him as much. And it could have been that switchbacks maybe were cheating to that side, and maybe they were more wary of Moreno out there than they were of Jimmy Farkaloon, and maybe that like had a knock-on effect. But overall, like a lot of the play was flowing through him, and he was not wasting it either. He was playing that, like sliding that ball down the line for Farkaloon to run onto. That was really dangerous a couple of times, and then switching play as well, like playing it out to the left hand side. And I was just really impressed with the passing range. Really impressed with, like you said, the calm head. And I think the thing that really struck me, despite the fact that he gets dribbled past a couple of times, I think the thing that that really stood out to me was the fact that he was rarely wildly out of position. Because like, how many times have we seen sort of the like, oh, the playmaker fullback gets like is caught way far upfield and they play in behind him, and then you know that was we've been through that for quite some time. Um, and so the fact that we never felt really short on numbers, and we always
Mhm.
felt like it felt like he was in more or less the right positions. I just think it does show that he's got he's got tons of confidence, but two, I think he's got a pretty good footballing brain, it seems like, and just like knows what's going on around him, and definitely wasn't awed by the occasion, I think, which is also impressive because, we've heard guys talk about how much, the expectation and like you want to do well for the fans and all that sort of stuff. And for him to come into a, season opener, home opener, um, situation like that at that age, yeah, just very impressive. And, um, I'm excited to see what he can do the rest of the season, because him being a genuine option, not just as rotation, but like to start at right back, like is yeah, that's not something that I would have leaned on, given that we saw him for legitimately 1 minute last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he's trying to put himself in the gaffer's plans for the long term, he hasn't done anything to hurt those chances. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and after the game, he spoke really well too. So just further proof that he's got a good head on his shoulders, both seemingly interpersonally and on the pitch.
They're media training the high schoolers. Um so
Game's gone.
games gone, the media training. No, so I mean, speaking of kind of thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but involved in the buildup to the equalizer.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a slick move. I mean, I think this first one starts. Is this the one that's like the 8 pass sequence that
Yeah.
starts? It starts all the way with Romero. You know, I think Hoban, either Hoban or someone in the back line, ends up switching the play over
Yeah, I
to
think it is
Amando.
Hoban who plays that crossfield pass out
Is
to
it
the
him?
left. I
Yeah,
think
and
so.
and
I'll watch it back.
which I mean, just we were able to do that a couple times on the night, which I really liked. Was like we were kind of using Colorado Springs switchbacks tactic of like overloading Hoban side against them by being like, okay, if you're gonna like shift ball side, then we're just gonna ping it to our fastest winger, arguably our most dangerous wide player in Amando Moreno. And a couple of times, Amando was able to use that pace to bring the ball down, get to the 6-yard box or 12-yard box, and or the penalty area. And I don't know that he gets the does he get the assist for this first one? I know he gets an assist on the night. I can't remember which one it was for, but
I don't think this one would technically count because I
no,
think
because
it's
this came
like
off
off the
the
post.
this came off the post. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he kind of tries to square it to Eric Calvillo, who gets it off the post. And then um like you'd want to see from the best of them, the best poachers, Rubin is there and he's able to slot it home. And that's about the 20th minute. And then from there, I'm comfortable saying from there it was all Locomotive. I mean, we were really, really good after that. Really not good before that. I mean, it really seemed like we flipped a switch at that point. And something woke the side up and said, "Oh, hang on, we're playing a game here. Like it's a home opener, and we really should be taking it to these guys because we're better than them." And so, for Rubin to open his account, I mean, what more could you ask for? Obviously, we've seen some really special strikers come through here at Southwest University Park. Most recently maybe Louis Solignac, and so to come in and get off the mark as quickly as he did, great. It's great for him, his confidence, the teammates having confidence in him, and then of course the fans who that's what they show up for. So just a nice poacher's finish, has to be there, is there, does the hard bit, and it's 1-1.
Yeah. Um, can confirm it was Hoban who plays the crossfield pass
Switch.
to Moreno, and it's really good because he doesn't just leather it out there. like, because it would be easy for you to see Moreno in space and just like try to hit and hope, like, and he drops it in very easy for Amando to take in his stride. And yeah, just a really nice ball. And I would say the sequence leading up to it also, yeah, slick, as you mentioned. But Rubin, for me, having a guy, a true number nine, like we just haven't really had a true number nine, because even with Andy Cabrera last year, the way that he got his goals was often like he's coming in from wide areas and
Mhm.
sort of drifting, and there was a lot of interchange and guys are switching positions and all this sort of stuff. And I think having someone that is just going to be that, like in this case, like, you know, two poachers goals on the night, as we'll get to the second in a bit. But yeah, I think just having that is so valuable in this league, as we've seen in the past with strikers that you mentioned. Um so yeah, Rubin. And I think absolutely vital that, you know, your big name or biggest name signing of the offseason, who is meant to get the goals, gets the goals early, and isn't, there's no, you know, there can be no narrative of like, oh, like when's Rubin gonna get off the mark and everything. It's like, to get it on debut, get it out of the way.
Right.
I think it just, yeah, puts him in a good spot for the rest of the season and will do wonders for his confidence. But like you said, I mean, the way that the game sort of flowed from here, Locomotive really did take it to Colorado Springs, and I think they end with like a significant shot and an XG advantage, in that, you know, it showed in the statistics. The the other player that I'd like to kind of call out as somebody that, you know, isn't going to show up in the box score necessarily, but really did make his mark, is Jimmy Farkerloon. Um, like we said, announced basically 2 days before the match, so we had only just learned that he even was going to be playing for Locomotive, and came into this one. And I think, like, in terms of threat out wide, especially, like, we've had a very kind of lopsided attack in that Amano Moreno can get focused on by teams because he is so dangerous. He is so, you know, good on the ball, all of this. And having Farkerloon on the other side, it really did make it like, okay, well, you know, to your point earlier, like, overload at your own risk, because Farkerloon, when he did get in behind and did, like, he caused like quite a bit of trouble for Colorado Springs. And I think um, on a couple of different occasions, like, was either, you know, close to creating a shooting opportunity for himself, or created a shooting opportunity for himself, or um, was in that position to drift across in and create a dangerous opportunity for someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Jimmy was really good, and I think maybe even he might have been surprised by how quickly he was called upon for his new club, having come over from Austin in MLS Next Pro. Um, he's only 24 years old, so I think there's still plenty of time for him to develop. But it seemed already like he and our freaking 16-year-old right back Kenny Hoban already were kind of like developing a bit of an understanding, and it was giving Colorado Springs some issues. But I mean, look no further than the second goal, right? I mean, the way that he just completely knocks the ball past Foster, and he was running him ragged, right? A lot of times, and ultimately Foster gets the ball back, so I guess it's not considered like a completed dribble necessarily, or like he's not able to get the assist or like square it for anyone, but he's able to cause enough trouble and get into the box for Foster to then be so tired by the whole sequence that he clears it right to Eric Calvillo at the top of his own box, who's able to then, he tries to square it, ends up kind of squirting out to, again, Rubio Rubin for his second and our second. So yeah, Jimmy, I think, it won't show up on the score sheet like you said, but I don't, that goal doesn't happen without him having the confidence to take Foster on, drive inside, cause Foster to make the mistake, and then eventually Rubio Rubin's on the end of a bounce. Um, So yeah, I thought he had a really good game. Um, and then Rubin again, just to go back to him. I mean, he's been here 2 seconds and he's the first debutant with a multi-goal game. So like
Yeah.
already kind of making his mark, and I mean that's what you want, because exactly I'm so glad we don't have to sit here tonight and say like, well, hopefully Rubina get off the mark, and against Monterey, this, that, the third, but he's got a brace, so
Yep.
um hopefully that'll be a big weight off him and the team's shoulders.
The finish on the second is really one of those that makes you go like, oh, okay. Like, because the first
Oh,
one,
he's a striker,
yeah,
like
it's on
yeah.
the spin, it's with his left foot. Like, there's just a lot about it where you're like, okay, and it's right in the corner. Like there was just a lot there where he knows where the goal is. Like he didn't have to take a touch. He didn't have to like he takes his opportunity, and I think that to me is like indicative of the type of striker he is. And yeah, when you're finding the level, because obviously a lot of people, if the first goal was his only goal, there could be skeptics out there or whatever who could say, oh well, it's a tap in and like it
Mhm.
falls to him, he's lucky, all that sort of stuff. And there's obviously some luck in how the second one comes about too, but there's nothing lucky about that finish. And yeah, I just that was one where it kind of makes you sit up and say, okay, like yeah.
Also, like, big day for the box crashing Eric Calvillo extremists like myself,
Yeah.
because both the goals, Eric's in the box and he's also instrumental to both of them. So I love that for our captain, um, who's going on his 5th season in
Yeah.
Locomotive Blue. So my goodness,
And
leading the appearance chart, I think, in the games chart. So
yeah, I think
mhm.
he's got to be,
He's past Yuma, that's for sure. So I think he is leading. Yeah.
because he hit a century last season.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and yeah, seeing him involved in the way that he is, I think is great. And you know, it only took however many years of us screaming into the void that Eric should be played in a three, and then he's played in a three, and it gives him the chance to get in the box. And lo and behold, he's involved in 2 goals. So, um,
And we didn't lose anything defensively by him doing that. I mean,
no,
despite conceding 2 goals, again, they're both on dead balls. Romero doesn't have to make any saves.
hmm
Like, the balance was good. I
yeah,
mean, and to be fair, much of the game wasn't played in midfield, but again, I like that Eric was able to be involved in that way and facilitate. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
I'll be interested to see, and this is not a slight on Robert Coronado, who I think he was perfectly fine on the night. Like, and I think it would be very interesting to watch, like to see maybe Carl Sante or whoever else
mhm,
might be deployed in that 6 role, um, to see if there's anything else there from a like energy or like cover, like sort of the amount of space he could cover.
mhm,
Because while Robert Coronado, fantastic footballer, he's been a wonderful servant and everything, I do think like physically limited maybe at this point in his
sure,
career,
yeah.
comparatively to a 23-year-old Carl Sante who could maybe put himself about a little bit more. And it does make me think that, were there certain points in the game where perhaps like a bit of legginess gets in. And I think what struck me too about this game in the specific way, like the sequence of the goals and all of that stuff, is that we sort of bookended the best part of the game performance wise for Locomotive by the first goal woke us up. The second goal, we kind of go back in the shell. And I really like, this is again like a I don't know the way to solve it, but there is something about this team over the last probably 3 to 4 years that the second that they take a lead, they just get a little bit in their own head, and they sort of stop asserting themselves in the way that they did. Uh, Players that like subs start to get made because it's like, oh, guys are getting leggy, things like that. And unfortunately, the second goal comes like shortly after a couple of substitutions where we were I you know, it's interesting. I think like the way that we think about these long throws and the way that it seemed like Junior maybe was almost admitting as much in his post-match press conference when you talk to him about it, but like the way that these long throws have become such a thing in world football now. Um the way that we set up for him, I say we, like the way that any team defending a long throw sets up for him, you basically have to treat it like a corner kick instead of like a throw.
Yeah, I think yeah, I mean, I couldn't I think Junior was very good about, like, he was he had a bit of, like, a wryness to him when he was like they basically chucked it from halfway, like,
Right.
kinda said
Well,
it in
yeah.
that way, but, like, he didn't give away that it's like that he has, like, contempt for the tactic necessarily, like, he you know what I mean? Like, because he was like, "Look, I mean, yeah, it is a throw, but, like" talking specifically about Colorado second, it's also, like, a really good glancing header, like,
Oh
really
no, it
good.
is.
Like, it's ridiculous, like, that's exactly what you wanna do with it, and I think this throw in particular was also worse to deal with than the one that set up the corner, because it was a little more
Yeah.
flat. Like, I think when the ball is like, because when you arch the ball, like, there's more time to, like, react,
Hmm.
right? And, like, jostle and stuff like that, but, like, this one was a little I feel like this one was a little more pinpoint,
Yeah.
and,
Well,
still,
and I
I think
feel for I actually am trying to see who gets caught under it because those flat throws are also like it's a challenge to judge the flight of it, right? Because the spin on it is different than a kicked ball and all of that sort of stuff, and it doesn't necessarily like descend in the same way or float in the same way, whatever. And I can't see on the wide angle here, but a locomotive player like goes to attack the ball, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And gets caught right underneath it because it just hangs like just long enough in that flat
Yeah,
trajectory. It just hangs
yeah,
just long enough
yeah,
to glance off of the head rather than him just heading it out. Like because he did the right thing. He just gets caught right under it instead of being able to head it away.
right, yeah, and like you said, like, it's very little arch compared to, like, the other throws, and so and that's what makes corners dangerous too, like, some of the best corner takers in
Sure.
the world, that's what they're, renowned for is, like, keeping that ball, like, flat, and just, like, pinging it, but yeah, it's same who was it that who was it that it was the same guys, like, every single time, like, doing this to us, Williams, I think, was the one who Samuel Williams, yeah, the 20-year-old, so, I mean, fair
Mhm.
play to him because yeah, he's got a throw on him, and that was a really good throw, but also, like, now that we have to, like, take these long throws as, like, set pieces, it's like, well, then what's the defensive plan, right? Like, are we
Right.
zone, like, man to man? I think we were definitely, like, trying some kind of, like, just, like, defend the box because there were several Colorado Springs switchbacks outside the box, and nobody was with them.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. Like, I don't know. That to me, which maybe I should know how this stuff works because I support Arsenal and they're, like, set piece terrorists, but that's different. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. This is gonna have to be something that we focus on, clearly, because, the long throw has made it to our shores, people, so
Yeah. Um, but it does end 2-2, and there was a bit of a I think, like, there was a push, maybe both sides, uh, really kinda going for it in the last like, after the equalizer, it did feel a little bit open. It got a little bit not chippy, that's not even the right word, but it got a little bit like tackles were definitely flying in. There were a lot of like yellow cards taken to avoid, giving away some kind of like maybe a breakaway chance or something like that. And it did feel a little bit disjointed towards the end. And certainly with the substitutions and all of that, shapes get a little less organized and everything. But it does end 2-2, and Locomotive grab a point to start the season. Um, the the one player that we didn't mention who makes his debut, or well, we mentioned him, but who we didn't talk about was Alex Mendez. And Alex, comes over in like a transfer move from Tampa Bay, and Junior speaks specifically about him being kind of it like a playmaker, call it the most advanced eight or a false 10, whatever you want to, like the the
Right.
cursed stuff we've talked about in the past. But um a bit of a tough debut for Alex, in that it just felt like, whether it was switchbacks, stopping it from happening, or Locomotive's game plan kind of moving around him, Alex not able to get as involved as I think we were maybe expecting. Obviously, no alarm bells. It's one game, like anything is possible. But I think if you're looking across the debutantes, plus Kenneth Hoban, you're like, okay, to decent to like very good, and then Alex was just a little bit not able to put his mark on the game, or get as involved as I think we were maybe expecting.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, stats wise, completely fine. I
Yeah,
mean, tidy in possession. I think he actually had the best passing completion of anyone in the midfield. Um, so there was nothing like super problematic. He just really couldn't impose himself that much. And to be fair to him, I mean, he's not had much of like consistent playing time at the very top level since he left Portugal with
true.
Vizela. So only a couple of appearances for Juarez, handful for Tampa Bay, wasn't, exactly favored there either. And so to then now get the start in what must feel like, oh, I gotta prove myself like right away because this might not happen again. I can understand that a little bit. Maybe there was some pressure there. I think I don't know, like, I've been digging a little bit more into, like, his stats, and not to pigeonhole him or anything, but, like, I don't know, I feel like I think he would like to be closer to the goal than perhaps this 3 allows. Because if we're
Hmm.
saying, like, Eric Calvillo is gonna be that guy, then someone else has to hang back, and I think maybe sometimes that was him, but at the same time, I don't really think that this game showcased midfield much at all anyway.
Yeah,
Um, I think this was a game about like transitions and dead balls, obviously. And I don't think really midfield did anything wrong per se, but I just don't think it was like a midfield like dictation kind of game, if that makes sense. So perhaps this is just one of those things where it's like the opponent is not really allowing you
yeah,
to show your best, and I could see what he was trying to do. I mean, there were a lot of like through balls that he was trying, and um things like that, and I hope that as he builds understanding with his teammates that those things will improve, because I do think, we talked about it on in the previous show of all the signings that we made, he is by far, I think, the most like intriguing kind of footballing education, if you will, coming through the IX Academy. Um and what have you, and then playing professionally for 3 years in Portugal. So yeah, I'm interested to see how he develops, but perhaps the game state and the opponent and the style of the game ended up not being one maybe suited to him.
yeah. Any other notes on this
Thoughts?
one?
I mean, I think overall I feel good about it. Because this was like, let's be honest, this is like a skeleton crew. I mean, no Palermo
Hmm.
Ortiz, no Gabby Torres. It's 5 debutantes, 2, like, kind of crazy, like, set piece goals that we concede, right? We need to improve on that, but I think, like, this is not our best 11,
Yeah,
arguably, and so to come out and play the way we did, and again, for our striker to get off the mark is huge, so I think we did tick a lot of boxes. We just didn't get the 3 points. It is what it is. It's football. Maybe next year, as we say until our dying breath.
yeah,
On opening night, maybe next year. But I think for Junior Gonzalez and for the players, like I think they have to be overall like this is good. It's good to build on, and they can. I think the thing too that is a takeaway from this, if I could, it's so easy to identify where to improve, right? At
Sure.
least it's not like we don't know what happened here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very clear what can be worked on.
Yeah.
And Junior Gonzalez, with his experience and his his acumen tactically, I have no doubt that they will address some of these things and keep going. So overall, good. Would have loved to win it, but hey, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say I feel better. I definitely feel a lot better having seen it. And like you said, with the impacts injury wise, like I definitely feel better about where the roster's at than I did um preseason,
Yeah.
on paper. Um and important for the team to make sure that we're, that we continue to improve and everything, but trust Junior to tackle the stuff that needs to get better. And as we integrate folks back in and they gain fitness, I think it'll be interesting to see just how long some of these injuries are, and um, if the impacts are uh long ranging. Hopefully not. Um,
I mean, yeah, just think of the prospect of like Abby Torres feeding Rubio Rubin. Like,
yeah,
yes, please.
yeah,
So yeah,
all
much
day,
to look forward to.
absolutely. Um, well, next time out on Saturday, Monterey Bay away, the Cardinale Stadium. And they suffered defeat in their season opener, 1-0 loss to the Oakland Roots, which a Canadian NPC named Mark Fisher scored for Oakland. I'm sort of making a joke. Mark just doesn't have a picture on Transfermarkt.
He does
So
on Bob, which is funny.
okay, I'm glad that he's represented.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Mark Fisher scored in like the 84th minute to give Oakland the 1-0 win in the, I don't know, do you call that a derby? Is that in Northern California?
Is it? I guess. I mean, they
I mean,
couldn't be more
Monterey's like,
different.
it's probably like 2 hours from San Francisco, but
2 or 3, yeah.
um
It's a rivalry, I guess.
yeah, we'll call it a rivalry. But Monterey Bay, widely kind of thought of as, I would say, one of, they're not highly favored, we'll say, in terms of how people are thinking about this squad across the league. But obviously a couple of El Paso connections in that our new president, Mike DiGiulio, came over from Monterey Bay, and Nick Ross, who obviously plied his trade with Loco for 3 seasons, or 4 seasons. I don't know if
4.
did he have
No?
overlap with Hutch? No, he got binned as soon as Mark left.
Yeah. That sounds right. But I'm
So
sure someone will fact check us.
he yep, he obviously spent a couple of years at Sacramento, so he's now over at Monterey Bay. But yeah, 1-0 loss in their opener. Monterey Bay has not necessarily been like a happy hunting ground for Locomotive over the years. Like we really don't enjoy, like, even when we are the better team. I remember, I guess it would have been maybe 2023 or 22. I remember a 0-0 there that basically derailed our entire season. Even though we had like a
Yeah.
4 XG or something very stupid, we like destroyed them and drew 0-0 because of Anthony
It's
Siaha.
Anthony Ciciaja, yeah,
If I
exactly.
remember right. So anyways, not necessarily been a happy hunting ground, but um this Monterey Bay side I think a lot of people are thinking is a candidate to repeat for the wooden spoon, unfortunately.
Oh, poor Monterey. I mean, yeah, I don't think we can be taking anything for granted too soon right now. I mean, looking at some of the business that they did, they've signed Georgi Lomtatse from Dinamo Tbilisi, which I'm
Yeah.
like, what if he's the next Kvaratskhelia? We don't know. Like,
Yeah,
you
nobody
know.
knows. We didn't know that
uh,
Kvaratskhelia was gonna be the next Kvaratskhelia when he came
right.
out, so
No, but in all seriousness, like, I think Wesley Leggett, like, that's a decent signing.
it's a good signing, yeah.
If he can get back to kind of what he did at Loudoun, he's not that far removed from a what is it, double digit goal involvements in that season. So,
Mhm,
um, there's some pieces here to work with. I think obviously losing a player like Siaha is big, but you get Nick Ross for the leadership, the veteran presence.
mhm,
Not a bad signing at all. You figure he will settle pretty quickly because he's not having to like up sticks too far from where he was playing in Sacramento. Um, so I mean, there's pieces here that they can work
yeah.
with, but I just don't know that it's good enough for who they're up against, if that makes sense.
I
And
think, threat-wise, 'cause you mentioned Wesley Leggett, and then I think Amari Glasgow is another player that'll be he actually had 5 shots. He didn't have a shot on target, um,
Mhm.
but he had by far the most shots for Monterey Bay in the opener. And he is a guy, he spent the back half of last season on loan at Loudoun, um, and is on loan at Monterey Bay from Chicago Fire. And he actually got like some meaningful minutes last season before he went on loan. So he is definitely highly thought of in the Fire organization, but Amari Glasgow would be one that
Nice.
I would watch out for, like right wing, um, and will look to cause problems. And it does look like I guess they probably play with a three, and it looked like it was maybe
Mm,
Lumtadze, Leggett, and Glasgow. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, they get done by a really good finish, it's fair to
a really
say.
good goal.
Yeah, I mean, do you wanna tell us about that one?
Yeah, it was off I think it was off a corner, but it gets punched away by the keeper, and then it eventually works its way back out to the right hand side of the box, towards Fisher, who, yeah, he. At first, I thought he didn't mean it, and I even spent the first part of the before we started recording, like trying to CSI like whether he actually meant um to chop this ball back, but he actually back heel like chops it back inside, and then absolutely unleashes with his left foot. And it was like a curler sort of where there are multiple Monterey Bay players in the way, but it curls and hits the side netting on the right hand side, which is just one of those, yeah, very satisfying goals, like as it flew in. And big celebrations from Mark and the traveling Oakland fans. But yeah, it was a very, very good goal. But and fitting a fitting goal to win any game. But yeah, Monterey Bay almost held on for a draw, which I guess you could also say, we're not really sure what Ryan Martin's Oakland is going to be in terms of can they get firing? Are they going to score a bunch of goals? Um, but I think it's not, it's not to be overlooked that this was very nearly, they were 6 minutes away of regular time from keeping a clean sheet here. So it's not like they got, trounced in any meaningful way. And
Sure.
I think assuming anything about us being able to go there and get 3 points easily or something would be pretty foolish.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just have to see. I mean, same thing with Jordan Stewart, you know. I mean, I think he was stepping into this job from like an assistant job in MLS. So,
Hmm.
you know, even though he's, I guess, stepping down a level, you know, it's still being the dude, right? And so he's got some things that he'll want to kind of figure out and do all that. I mean, I know he was there last season, but I'm saying like
Yeah,
it's still like a learning curve, if you will, of being the guy. I think we know that more than anyone, having
right.
watched John Hutchinson coach this team. So, but yeah, Monterey Bay, they do have to like shit or get off the pot though. Like it's been too long of them not like making the postseason. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I feel like they gotta level up at some point. But
gotta go for it.
hopefully not this weekend. But it's a big road swing for us now. We're not back at home for a month. So
Yeah.
like we go to Monterey, then we go to we go to Laredo Heat in the US Open Cup, and then I think we're back to California, Sacramento. Is that right?
I think you are right. If I could pull up the yeah,
So
you had it.
yeah.
You had it right. And then yeah, we're not back home until April 4th against Vegas. So um
Jeez. So yeah, it's a really important next couple weeks for us
yeah.
of trying to get our road game going.
And interestingly, and I would say crucially, we have that US Open Cup week is a Thursday night game, but then we don't play that weekend. So
Okay.
we don't play Sacramento until the following weekend. So the midweek game doesn't actually hurt us at
That's
all,
good.
which will do us
I'm
some favors as well,
And I'm sure that'll be welcome by Junior Gonzalez because he'll want to be on the training pitch as much as possible. So,
for sure.
um, yeah, but yeah, big couple weeks coming up.
Yeah. Um I'm looking forward to and I guess was there any talk post match or about any of the injuries? Were there any indications given about any of the fitness?
Junior was pretty like coy on timelines.
Yeah.
Because I kind of opened with that of like, you know, how do you? I know you're still figuring out your 11, but how do you fit in big players like Palermo Ortiz and Gabi Torres and yeah, he wasn't too clear on that. But I mean, I know for sure they're still around the place and you know supporting the lads and all that. I'll try to see if I can get any more clarity on that because especially Gabi Torres, like I really want to see what he can build from last season. You know, because I think
Hmm.
he was a consistent bright spot and performer for us. And in a team that's ostensibly going to be more attacking, like I can only imagine, you know, how much more that might unleash him. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'll try to see if I can get any clarity on timelines.
I think yeah, and I think specifically seeing Gabby Torres in a team that has like an a functioning midfield um because
Right.
he'll be able to then just be a left back, like he can be the left back and but create from there, you know, and I think having him, you know, in the way that Hoban was trying to exploit it here is like the benefit of being deeper in the tactic is it's less likely for you to get pressed, right? So the like he gets to pick his passes more,
Mhm. Mhm.
he gets to pull other people into the play more, um and or he can run with the ball, which we know he is capable of as well, and if he wants to dribble as well, like he's got the license. But yeah, I think overall like just being able to see him in a side that has like where he's not having to or not having, but he's not being deployed in midfield to get him involved in the playmaking. Like he can just play make from that left back spot. I think it
But
would be nice to see. So hopefully available soon. Um, I would say, I mean, if I'm making predictions, I don't think I would hold my breath about any of the guys who sat out week one traveling to Monterey. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet that you see a pretty similar 11 for Monterey, and then obviously, the cup is the cup, maybe a chance to rotate, like maybe you see some other guys get starts. I think Sacramento might be the one that you circle on the calendar for, like, with that week in between the Open Cup game or week plus in between the Open Cup game and the game in Sacramento. Like, that would be where the earliest I'm thinking any of those guys who sat out week one are probably going to get or would be in line to start. I'll say
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see unless there's like an ACL they're hiding from us, but yeah,
Oh God.
we'll have
Yeah,
to see.
I hope not. I mean, they've done the whole he's 2 weeks away for like 6 months before, so
That's true. That's true.
not six, but you get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, yeah, I would say overall promising opening night from Locomotive, and hopefully everyone enjoyed the atmosphere for those who were able to make it out, and I think a promising start to the season. I we're still we're I would say we're so back, and hopefully it's not so over because of labor reasons by the
Right,
time this goes
right.
up. But yeah, uh, Mika, any final thoughts tonight?
None from me, Phil. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see what this next couple of weeks brings and what more we can learn about Junior Gonzalez, the coach. So,
We sure will. Well, for those that have made it this far, be sure to subscribe and download whatever on your favorite podcast platform and let us know what you think. Excited to hear what everyone's thoughts of opening day were, if you haven't shared them already. And until next time, stay loco.